Guys, it's another episode of What Have I Been Testing slash Playing. And you know, there's been a lot going on because there's been a lot of stuff that's been released, a lot of format changes, you know, new set for new clan collection set, and then a new premium format because everything got banned, and then, you know, new set for new set 3 for like for overdress format. So yeah, everything's been going on, and it's just been, you know, a lot of good times, a lot of nice testing, and you know, things are going to accelerate quicker, right? Because we've been in lockdown for a while, but now we've been unlocked, right? So now it is time to go outside and we can play physical cards. Testing is going to dramatically increase and accelerate because, you know, playing with real cards is better and faster. So that's good. That's good. Now you have to just keep in mind, this is me, right? I'm a washed up player already. I do content, I commentate, so that means I stop topping. That's just life, right? That's just reality. And so yeah, these are kind of my personal thoughts on everything. Well, everything I've been playing. And with this video is basically just going to be me talking about what I've been liking a lot. So yeah, well, let's just get started. We'll get started with overdress first, right? Because I'm going to talk about every single format. I've been testing everything. Yeah, first thing is kind of interesting is you see this is Pandemonium Tactics. This is Bruce. I've actually been playing Bruce, and you're going to be like, wow, you are such a meta dog. And I'm going to just say you're exactly right. I love Bruce, man. I used to not like Bruce, but because someone just didn't have any other decks to give me while I was in lockdown, they gave me Bruce, so I had to play Bruce. And now I kind of have a pretty good idea on how to play Bruce. So with that, you know, Bruce is a pretty good deck. Going to set 3, I think Bruce is a pretty good deck. It's probably one of the strongest decks, and I think there's multiple ways to actually build it successfully, which is really nice to see. And you know, I think in tournaments, this is definitely going to be one thing to look out for. So, but it's fine if you love Bruce, because it's, you know, winners have to win, right? Winners have to win, and this is how you do it. Now, there hasn't really been that many big tournaments though for overdress. I think big tournaments are coming along very soon. WGP will be starting with, like, you know, the events and the pre-events, and then there's VMC. I think all the events will be starting up soon. Numbers have been looking really nice in Japan, at least, so we're gonna get some numbers there. We haven't seen a lot of local results. That's pretty cool. But yeah, Bruce surprisingly is just, well, maybe unsurprisingly, is just very strong. But it's also kind of fun to play because, you know, the feeling of just like smashing your opponent with high-powered columns, multiple attacks, multiple crit, you know, it's just, it's fun because it's good, right? It's fun because it's good. One deck though that I didn't realize that would be this fun was actually Zorga. So Zorga looked kind of lame when this like set 3 came out, because you're like, well, it's basically nothing that we got a pot of greed. It's kind of it. We got this new dog. But there hasn't been any significant. We didn't get a Derek, right? We didn't get a Derek. So there's nothing that's really super amazing. But after playing the deck a bit, it's just, I actually do like it quite a bit. Like the dog just adds so much to the deck. I don't know if it's gonna be tier 1. I actually don't know. I don't think it's gonna be like tier 1. But the cool thing about the set 3 format is that there's a couple of decks that are just very strong, which is how it is, right? There's always decks that are better than others. But then the tier 2 is just basically everything else minus like PBD. Minus PBD. Like everything else is quite good. Which is pretty nice in terms of design. And you know, the difference in D, right? The differences between like the top decks and the middle decks are basically not that significant, unless your name starts with Bruce or starts with a B. No, I think we'll see more when tournaments start. But I don't think I think like basically all the tier 2 stuff is just pretty decent. Like everything's similar to each other in terms of power level, and then the difference between that and tier 1 is for like triggering overtrigger, something like that, right? So but yeah, Zorga is actually pretty fun, and the dog adds so much to the deck. It's surprising. I thought this deck would be boring, but it's apparently just right on my alley. Lame and boring, and just grindy. yeah, you guys have to understand, when I say a deck is lame and boring, I keep that as a positive, because I play Link Joker. All decks should be lame and boring, because it makes your opponent go to sleep. And that's how you win. You win by default, right? But in terms of like the strongest decks in D, these are my predictions right now. I actually don't think the format is just dominated by stuff that starts with B, right? Although it might be. Like, I definitely think Bruce is a top tier pick right now. And you know, this one is a big one. Lauro. I think Lauro is actually a really strong deck right now, just because it just does its thing. I feel like it might have gotten better when you have to run draws in the deck now. Because before, people were playing Lauro and just going, Just throw 11 crits and hope for the best. But now that it actually has some draw power, it doesn't. It bricks slightly less, which is pretty good. Right? So I think like running the draws made the deck better. But yeah, so I think Lauro is pretty strong because it just still does its thing and just does it well, and nothing's really changed about it except your trigger lineup is 3 cards different. And the last deck that is kind of still pretty good is Seraph Snow, just because you got a DSR in this new set. But also, the core of the deck from before really hasn't changed. It's just that good. The PR is just that good. So now going into this new set, it's still a really good deck, right? It's still a really good deck. Now, one of the things also is that all these decks are kind of different in what they kind of want to do, right? Bruce, very fast, aggressive, very proactive deck. Lauro just does a one thing and does it well, right? So kind of like a combo deck indeed, but maybe not so. But then your Seraph Snow is like this trigger happy deck, can play like kind of aggressive, can play half control. So they all got different styles, which is kind of nice and makes just the format a bit diverse at like the top levels. Although you're gonna see a lot of high crit power lines, right? So yeah, I think these are my picks for the strongest decks indeed currently, and that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is. Moving on, we have V. So you're gonna be quite surprised in V. V is actually pretty interesting, right? We tested a lot of clan collection stuff, and I think we tested all of them. And in the end, I think a lot of people just went, yeah, the clan collection stuff is fun, but what are the best decks? And I think VMC kind of showed off what the best decks was, and one of them was just like Gabriel, right? Gabriel hasn't changed. Lauro, pretty good, still hasn't changed. We didn't see any Bermudas, but I do think that, Bermuda is still around now. That is kind of something I want to talk about a bit later. But yeah, Gold Paladin was also very strong, and this was a Spectral deck, and this is kind of, I've been saying Spectral is pretty good. Some other people have been saying Spectral is pretty good since before. It really hasn't shown up in the Western meta, but in Japan it was kind of a big deal. So yeah, Spectral still performed quite well, and we saw some really great plays in the VMC with a lot of big names doing very well. And like I think basically all of the top 4 to top 8 was pretty well-known players in the scene. So they all kind of showed why they're pretty good. But let's go back to like the Bermuda topic. I think one of the things that really clapped my mind was Refugio Raid, combining it with Lupina. I wanted to see how well it did. To be honest, it's not good enough. It's honestly not good enough. It makes Lupina slightly better, but you might as well just play the other Bermuda decks, because with Refugio Raid, you're like it feels like you're just kind of playing catch up with the amount of top deck checks. It reveals the top cards equal to the force mark. So you get a bunch, but in terms of like putting on the pressure on your opponent and things like that, it's not as good as the other deck. So you're basically just drawing a bunch of cards, committing them, or then just like guarding them and just doing the same thing repeatedly until you just lose, right? You just do it too much. So overall, I think that's just thrown in the bin. And look, top tier decks is just kind of the same. Now, the thing that I really want to test is actually these two, right? It's actually we got Vert, right, and we got Plon. So the West on the Prism train, on the Vert train, and the East, or at least Japan, is on the Plon train. And then we've also seen some different builds of Vert pop up. We've seen like semi Highlander Vert doing well in like the Hong Kong tournaments. So there's a bit of innovation on the Prism line, and then Plon just being strong. And like on paper, there is reasons why Plon is strong. When you think about like Melody having insane intercepts, doing like high like power lines of crit, very easy to pull that off. But when your format is also having like Gabriel being one of the best decks, having like a 30k intercept is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. It lets you stay alive. It lets you hit back really hard. So things like that are very favorable for the deck, and you see there's a lot of hate towards the deck as well in terms of cards being played. Of course, I think there's definitely people not liking the deck, right? So that's why they're gonna hate it that way. But yeah, in terms of like force intercept like effects, just so or ways to seal off intercepts, just to hate on that Plon matchup, I think it's pretty interesting. I think like Plon in Japan is another like kind of like the opinion between like gold like Spectral versus other things, right? And this is kind of like the difference in the West as well. So like Prism versus the Plon, which one is better in the metagame? how does it test, etc., etc. So I kind of want to see this. I actually want to test this. I think a lot of people will be like, oh, it's Bermuda again, and yeah, sure, you know, everyone has a love-hate relationship with Bermuda, but you know, testing is not about just playing the things you want to play, because I mean, you don't really need to test to just play the things you want to play, right? If we're trying to figure out the meta, though, that's a different story. So, this is something I do want. Oh, I just want to play all the super strong decks right now. See how strong they are. Then throw in something like a Gear Chronicle, right? Gear Chronicle got some pretty good support. Sounds like a pretty good deck. Can hang with the big boys, right? Hang with the big boys. I mean, we thought Luard was a very strong pick, but you know, no one really took Luard to VMC at all. They just took all the spectrals, right? Which is just strange, right? You go, wow, really? Like Luard just eats spectral for breakfast. But you know, the spectral players do find a way to deal with the bad matchups. So yeah, I want to see that, and that's kind of like, I don't know. It's like a pretty niche thing, right? It's like the Raiders, like high-end Raiders in MMOs. You're like, I've got to min-max everything, you know, gotta wake up at like 5 a.m. That's kind of that side of me, man. I want to test this, like the super top tier meta, throw in a bit of the randoms from Clan Collection and see how it goes. So that's gonna be probably happening very soon, very soon. I don't know if I'm gonna do on stream, because people see Bermuda and they go and watch, I don't know, another channel. Okay, let's talk about stuff that's not Bermuda. I also play like Valios as well, just to try it out. It's all right. It's all right. Nothing too mind exploding. I tested like core. I've said it before. I'm a huge. I've since the beginning. I've been liking spectral more than core, and after testing, yeah, it's still the same. I like spectral way more. So apart from that, I think the tier 2 though in like V is pretty good, right? It's similar to the previous premium format where there's like the big 6, and then the rest of the format is pretty good. But here in like the V format, the top big stuff is not as like demolishing breaking as compared to like the big 6 in premium. So yeah, they're still around. You're gonna see people play like, you know, the top tier decks. But again, it's not going to be as like, you know, here's my top tier deck with the 50 infinite loops that you can't deal with. I think tier 2 V premium is pretty good where it is. And then, you know, you've got your like mega calling decks, which might not be as good, and that's just how it is, right? That's how V has always been. So, but around the tier 2 era where like you've got royals and things like that, it's actually pretty fun. It's a pretty fun place to be. All right, so yeah, pretty cool. V is actually really fun too. I think all the formats are pretty fun. But let's move on to premium now, because that is the big fun. I think everyone's just been testing premium, and it's just been a Kahoot, right? It's been a Kahoot. So where are we at? So I've actually been testing a lot of red clans in premium. First one was Kagura. I think Kagura is a very strong clan. I've been playing it. I've been triggering over triggers like mad, right? It's basically not even testing, because what's the point in testing when your opponent triggers an over trigger? I think I should take out the over trigger from my deck or something, because it's just like, I'm just too good, man. I'm just too good. Every time I play the cross, my opponent just dies, like first turn, regardless. I can't even test anything else about the deck, though. I guess, you know, post the first turn, there's really nothing else to test. But yeah, I think overall the Overlord the cross, or overall the cross, is pretty good. And it's as expected, right? It's as expected and good, right? Because, you know, I like Kagura. One of the other decks that I've been playing last time on stream was Eugene. The kind of the Eugene meme combo. It is really fun. It's fun because when it goes off, you're just like, wow, it's amazing. But I think it mainly stays in meme land. In dealing, like, there's once you play against the Eugene combo deck, you kind of know exactly how to deal with it. So it's not as scary. Of course, they could still super high roll you, which is why playing the Eugene deck as the Eugene player is quite fun. And why, you know, to be a Eugener, you have to be a good memer. But yeah, I think I'll actually build this Eugene deck just in real life, so I can meme some kids, right, and make them just hey, do you guys want to see this insane combo? Woo-hoo! Yeah, crazy, right? So yeah, I think it's quite fun, and you know, that's what premium is about, right? You know, stupid fun combos that just work, right? That just work. So cool times. Another deck I've been playing is Narukami. So you see all this red stuff is insane, right? Narukami is pretty good, right? It's pretty good. The format slowed down, so your Narukami can come back and shine. And yeah, I think the question just is, do you play Eradicators, or do you play Vanquisher, or do you play something else? with Silverfish. You can play everything, right? You can play everything. But overall, Narukami feels kind of strong. But I personally do like, you know, just the cross better. But you know, don't quote me, because remember, I am a washed up player. But yeah, the Narukami train is quite good, and I think it's just determining which grade 3s you want to actually play, right? I don't like people are really hyped up about this, right? People want to run, you know, the Vanquishers, and then you have people going, you know, Valiant's pretty good, and then you have people saying Valiant is like dog crap. So if you play Valiant, you're just losing. So you just play Gauntlet. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of huge opinions on this, on what is good, and I guess we will see, right? I guess we'll see through more testing until what is good. And guys, what do you think is my last clan that I've been having quite a lot of fun with? Is it another red clan? No, you're wrong. It's actually Aquaforce. I've been playing Weirab's like 30 draw Aquaforce build, which is really funny, where all you do is like cycle like Bubble Edge Draco Kids into your soul, and then do a bunch of attacks and draw billion cards. In terms of like funness, this is pretty fun. It's 'cause you just draw a billion cards, right? In terms of practicality, I feel like there's like other better decks up there, because in the end you still just draw a bunch of just junk. And if your opponent's just kind of lucky, you kind of stall out. But remember, right, if you hit them to 5 and you have like a 30 card hand of Blan Arena, it's pretty good. So yeah, I do kind of like this. I kind of want to build this as well, but again, there's no TCG player in Australia anymore, because USPS doesn't ship here anymore, so I can't build any of these decks. It's just life. This is life. So yeah, these are kind of the fun decks that I've been having fun with. And you know, with these decks, I can kind of I basically have a Kagura deck. I have basically another Kami deck. I have bits of a Eugene deck that it's probably nearly fully built. I just don't really have much Aquaforce stuff, and I just kind of want to build them all, have a bunch of fun. I have been testing other stuff as well, right? You know, we've been testing Hellheart 8. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But also like a DI, right? DI I think is kind of weird. I want to see what other people think of. But right now, I feel like DI is like super piece reliant, it gets pressured pretty quickly. And the format kind of feels like, you know, you're either like a pressure deck, or your deck that can like deny, right? Your deck that can sit around and deny plays, or your deck that can like, you know, set up really quickly and push. And then it just comes down to can your opponent stop you with Heal Guardians? Can you hit over Heal Guardians and things like that? I think that's kind of where the format is right now. Other decks like Grand Blue, I think Grand Blue is surprisingly slow. So people who are So the smart Grand Blue players, right? The people like Solom who's saying, you know, without Zarzan, your deck sucks. It's kind of true, right? Grand Blue, you know, no way to accelerate their GM, feels a bit slower than before. So I feel like the way they hit the deck is just right? Just that small one piece. A lot of people didn't think much about it, but it actually had a huge impact. And of course, we've also tested things like Pale Moon. And, you know, all the Pale Mooners in the chat, right? They really have nothing to worry about, in my opinion, right? You know, the Parrots and hit, okay, you lost a good card, sucks. The deck overall is still very good. You have lots of ways to optimize and build the deck, and it's still one of the beastier decks out there, right? You got hit just like Grand Blue, you know. You lost a good card, but again, if you didn't get hit, your deck is still like a strong deck. So, actually, do have Pale Moon, which is quite surprising, right? You wouldn't expect me to own a Pale Moon deck because it's hard to play. And I agree, it is hard to play. That's why I don't play it as much. I give it to other people. I give the deck to other people so that they can play it. It's because I'm generous. I'm a generous guy. All right? I'm a generous guy. But yeah, for the Pale Mooners out there, you guys, it's good, right? It's feeling good. I've been trying to think about how to make Mega Colony work, and it's been hard. I'm just gonna say it's pretty hard to make it work, but I will try and make it work. I've seen the funny builds where you run like Shieldfisher and things like that. You know, there's the Granolia build, right? Where you play for some reason I have a huge blank right now, but you play Megumi's Ace unit. Dude, what? Yeah, it's Magnolia, sorry. I was thinking of granola bars. But yeah. Yeah, it's Granolia, so Gradora plus Magnolia. Yeah, man, dude, I'm getting old, dude. I'm getting old. But yeah, no, I'm trying to find like a super lame way to play Mega Colony. Also been trying to figure out Link Joker, but it's hard, man. Like everything you think about, because I actually like those clans, right? I have a high standard on how I want the deck to be. So when I think of this idea, I'm like, this could work, but it couldn't, because you know it could be better. It could be better, right? And that's just how it is. It's just how it is with the clans you like. You expect them to be better. So that's why it's kind of hard thinking of a good deck for them. But I'll eventually think about a super lame and boring way to play them, of course, right? So that's kind of it for me. We will be testing still. We always test on Saturdays. And now with real physical cards, I can print out proxies and test them. So it should be good. And we can, you know, kind of cycle through all the rotations really quickly and think of and get some good testing going. So, you know, tune in on Saturdays. We might be in real life again. I'll figure out a way to set up the stream and all that. But we should be having some fun. So come check us out on, like, I think on Twitch, I'm WCC Kai. It'll be sometimes, usually it's around the same time. And just we have an idea on what to test and just keep playing. So if you want to see what we test, just go check out there. Let me know what you guys think of each format, right? What have you been having fun with? And we can compare notes. I'll see you guys tomorrow for VG Top Decks with Kelvin. Bye.